What bikers should never do. Watch this video. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So very quick video here again. We're talking about those big biker life lessons. What are the things that bikers should never do? Motorcyclists in general, whatever it is, whatever term you want to use, what are the things they should never do, right? So this really depends on what you deem other bikers should be doing, right? So in terms of riding bikes, some motorcyclists would say, if you don't wear a helmet, if you don't wear protective clothing, whatever, then that is wrong. You should always be wearing it. Other people, bikers, would say, no, wear what you want to wear, and whatever you wear, as long as it meets the legal requirement, then just wear that. It's your option. I tend to favor that approach. Just wear whatever you want to wear in terms of your clothing protection, but that's your personal responsibility, right? So other people can be quite it can be a polarizing argument here. But what bikers should never do, in my opinion, is preach to other bikers. They shouldn't be going up to bikers and saying, you should do this, you should do that, you must do this. And that for me is just a life lesson, let alone a biker life lesson. I don't particularly like being preached at. I don't particularly like being told what to do. And I certainly don't like it when other people do it. Now, you can definitely say to other people, bike, and say, look, hey, this is what happens. And this is, I used to run a motorcycle safety initiative, right? If you know me, you know what I used to do years ago. And I was never about preaching to people, or certainly never intended to do that. It was more about just giving information. Then it's up to you. It's up to you what you do with it. But I would say, look, this is a reality, what I see. This is reality, what I'm confronted with in my work and life. There's the information. You deal with it. But if I just went around and said, look, you can't do that and you can't do that, that's just, for me, that's wrong. So bikers should never do that. It should never be preachy to other people. Also, if there's a certain code of conduct within a certain motorcycle event, let's say, or a certain circle of people, then I would say don't go against that code of conduct. Don't do something that's going to antagonize other people. Fit in with it or just stay on the periphery, but don't negatively impact it. Now, you can make up your own minds what I kind of mean by that, or what you can glean from that as well. That's entirely up to you. But I think you get the point. Regardless of which environment you're in, you don't really want to be upsetting the apple cart, as we say over here. You just want to be going with the flow a little bit. Don't draw attention to yourself or negative attention to yourself if you can help it. Now, if it's accidental, if it's unintentional, that's one thing. But if you're kind of doing something with purpose, people are just going to look at you, and bikers especially in motorcycles are just going to look at you and say, wow, you're a bit of a dick, right? So there's another life lesson there as well. Other things that bikers should never do in terms of riding on the road. I made a video about it as well. The first thing that you should be thinking about is your self-preservation. In my opinion, your self-preservation. So getting into unnecessary confrontations with other road users, drivers, I think you just give yourself a bit of time and space here to cool off as well. And, try not to get into a confrontation, certainly a physical confrontation, because let's face it, you just don't know. I know, hey, bikers have got to be rough and tough and all that kind of stuff. But listen, that's another myth as well, right? Just think about yourself and your self-preservation, and also just think about whatever you do in terms of damage to another vehicle can also bring on, police action, legal action against you as well. So just be wary of that. I'm not saying you should never do it, but I'm saying just be very careful of that. Life lessons here again. But let's just think about, away from the ride environment, just the motorcycle environment. Now, what I think that bikers should never do, and this is something that I hear occasionally, and it doesn't gripe me, but I think it's just unnecessary, is where it's more than just ridicule, it's more than just banter, where they're just poking fun at another person's bike, or just saying something about the way somebody's riding, whatever. It's being negative, it's negatively criticizing somebody else for no reason other than the ability just to negatively criticize. I just think that's unnecessary. I think, as a biker, you should never do that. In fact, as a biker, I would say, and for the most part, this does happen, you should be kind of positive and encouraging and, trying to give your, positive words of wisdom to somebody who might be doing something wrong, let's say, or you think, you know what, and look, here's another issue, right? Let's just say if you see another biker doing something wrong, or you think, you know, at some point you're going to crash. There's a part of me thinks, you know what, they're going to have to learn themselves. I don't want to be that guy who goes up to them and say, look, you might want to think about that. Because, you know, anybody could say, why don't you just mind your own business, old man? And I'm kind of thinking, yeah, I don't really want to be that guy, right? Who goes up to people and says, you know. But at the same time, you kind of feel, I could see this. I could see you're going to come a cropper in a minute if you don't, you know, do something about the way you're doing something. I think sort of friendly helping is good. But I think, again, that preaching thing, it's very easy to get to preaching mode or preacher mode when you're trying to address something that other people are doing. And say it's one of those, it's a 50-50. Do you say something? Do you don't say something? But I think that just negatively criticizing somebody for no other reason that it makes you feel good, it makes you feel big and powerful, I just think that's really unnecessary. I just think people just shouldn't do it, and bikers especially just shouldn't do it as well. Okay, what is another thing, I suppose, that bikers should never do? I think this is not what they should never do, and this is definitely a life lesson. And bikers who've got, you know, long in the tooth, you know, it's just like pilots. You know, you have bold pilots, you have old pilots, but you don't have old bold pilots. It's just like bikers as well. You don't have old bold riders or bikers either. As you get older, you tend to know what you should be doing. You tend to know where your limits are, how you should be riding, the different riding conditions, that kind of thing. As a young rider, it's very easy to overestimate your abilities, overestimate your ability to see hazards and read the condition or read the room or read the situation or whatever the case may be. So bikers, for me, especially young bikers, should not think they're the bee's knees. They should really kind of be very humble and say, I've got a lot of learning to do. I've got a long way to go. And hopefully they can, you know, somebody can take them under their wing a little bit and, you know, teach them as they go along. I would say motorcycle clubs or the motorcycle club world is very good at that. It's very good at taking younger people under their wing and bringing them through in whatever, you know, whatever they do. But in terms of that structure, it helps them. I think in the wider motorcycle world, it can be a little bit like that, but it's a lot more random. And hopefully you just got older heads who are guiding younger people. But it's very easy to overestimate your own abilities. And I catch myself all the time thinking, yeah, I got this. And then I go out for a ride and I think, oh, that was rubbish, or I did that wrong, or I think, oh, God. And you have one of those rides, you think nothing seems to be going right. You think, you know, I just want to go home. I just want to go home, put the bike to bed and go and have a drink or something. But so what I think bikers just should never do is just jump into things and, you know, whether you're going for, I'm not talking about speed here. I'm not talking about riding like a hooligan or anything like that. That's for you. And I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a good idea, but I'm not going to say to you shouldn't do that. But what I'm saying is you could easily come unstuck just by riding beyond your means. I mean, there is another thing I think you should never do as a biker is, and again, I think I've got to be careful in how I say this, but there's no other way of saying it really. Just don't do something that puts motorcycling in a bad light. And which light is going to shine the brightest? It's going to be from non-bikers, car drivers, other people in society, right? So let's just say if you're riding your bike and you're popping wheelies in the middle of a built-up area or in the middle of, a busy road or something like that, a busy highway. I know there are lots of videos on YouTube and, people doing it in the United States, whatever, or all over the world. Or just going at 200 miles an hour on a road and that kind of thing and weaving through moving traffic or anything like that. I know there's lots of videos of that, but it just is not a good look. It's not a good look for other bikers, and especially if you're doing something really wrong and it puts us bikers in a bad light. That's what I think you should you should never do that. And if you're going to do that, then the onus is on you and not on us. But we absorb a lot of that. That's the problem. We absorb a lot of the negativity just based on your actions. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But what should bikers never do? Well, I'm sure there's a list as long as your arm. Your leg, probably. If you like what I do here, keep on watching the videos. Don't forget you go to the website RevelatorAlf.com/books, or just the website RevelatorAlf.com for all the books, merchandise, t-shirts, that kind of thing. Right, catch you again in another video coming very soon. Bye now.